I'm Gary.
And Gritty.
And this is Midwest Mikes. We are back with another episode, another preview episode. As you're listening to this, it should be about Thursday, August 31st. We're recording about 10 days early, getting our preview stuff in. And today, we're going to talk about the AFC North. Hopefully yesterday you caught our episode on the AFC South. We both picked the Jags. Not a lot to talk about there. Not going to review it or hash it. But if you did miss it, then feel free to go check it out. That's the good part about podcasts. It's audio on demand on your time. So go back, check that out. But we're going to talk about the AFC North. And the team that I want to start with is the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Mike Tomlin just doesn't have a losing record ever in the season. I mean, like 20 years now or something, no losing record. It's when you say it out loud, it sounds like it has to be a made-up stat. Because in the NFL, that doesn't happen.
It does. I mean, it sounds like it has to be fake.
Yeah.
Like, Mike Tomlin they don't lose.
No, he just finds a way to not have a losing record.
Yeah. And, I mean, if there was any of the last 2 years that he should have had a losing record, if there was any 2 years he should have had a losing record, it was the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The skeleton of Ben Roethlisberger,
and
then Pickett last year.
Yeah.
And what they tried to start out the season with, or I forgot who it was. Was it Mason Rudolph when they tried to start the season with last year?
Yeah.
I mean, if any years that he should have had losses, a losing season, it was the last 2 seasons, and he found a way to have 2 winning seasons.
Yeah, I mean,
coaching. What do you always say, Gary? Coaching
matters. I mean, even at the highest level, right? You think that these guys are professionals and they're all great athletes. They are, but whoever's steering the ship matters.
It does.
Big time. He puts good enough guys around him on his coaching staff and with those players, and good enough players and finds a way to motivate them to win a couple games that, looking at it on paper, you're like, how is this roster better than this one? And it's not, but they find a way to get it done.
I mean, last year, first week of the season, was it the first week of the season? Yeah.
Yeah.
They beat Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow threw 4 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah. Crazy.
I don't understand. And I do understand, because some of the best rivalries in football come from that division.
Yeah.
I do understand that. And even as the seasons go on, I mean, every team in that division can win any night.
Absolutely.
Cleveland has beat Cincinnati 3 straight seasons in one of the 2 games. I mean, it's crazy to think about how bad the Browns have been, and they just find a way. That division can be flipped end on end every year if you want to be technical about it.
It's a crapshoot for sure. On who's going to win this thing. I mean, and if you look at most major categories on offense, they were in the 20s last year, and still somehow found a way to get a winning season. And a lot of that is, we talked about it in the previous division, but rush yards per attempt and rush yards per game defensively, I mean, they were 8th and 9th.
Ooh.
So if you can stop the run or run the ball in the NFL, you're going to be in a good spot. So, and they were 16th in rush yards per game offensively. So that was the highest they were in any category.
They're the headache of that division.
Yes.
Like, every division has a headache team that is middle of the pack, but for some reason they're just a hard matchup. When you step on the field, like on paper, you're worse than they are. But when you show up to the ballpark. When you show up to the field, the stadium, they present a set of matchups that you just can't mimic in practice.
Yeah,
and you're in for a dogfight when they show up.
Yeah, and a couple additions to the team. Allen Robinson at receiver and Patrick Peterson at corner. I think that's a couple good additions. And then they also got Joey Porter Jr. They drafted at corner, who's going to be a stud also.
He had a rough camp, but what rookies don't? Like, you're coming into what I think to be the hardest position in all of sports.
Yeah.
Not as technical as like a quarterback, obviously. Like there's more stuff to memorize, there's more stuff. But as a defensive back, you are guarding the most athletic people in the sport, have no idea where they're going, and in the game of football today, you cannot touch them. So I would expect for Joey Porter Jr., and I do expect for some young corners do struggle. Mm-hmm. The Sauce Gardners, they don't just pop up.
Yeah. I mean, that's a rare
you don't breed those
occasion.
guys. Yeah, those guys aren't just there.
So, I think they're going to be a middle of the pack team in the middle of the NFL, somewhere around 500. I think they could get to 11 wins. I think that's their ceiling, but I don't think they do.
I mean, to get to 11 wins, Pickett would have to be in the 30 touchdown range.
Yeah,
would be my guess. Pickett would have to be in the 30 touchdown range, and their defense would probably have to be close to top 5.
Mm-hmm. But I do see them. I mean, they start at home versus San Francisco, and then they are home versus Cleveland, and then they go to Las Vegas and then Houston.
They're 4-0 to start the season.
I mean, I could see them winning all 4 of those games.
Yeah, they're 4-0 to start the season because in San Francisco right now, is Brock Purdy really going to play week 1? Is it going to be Trey Lance? Who's it going to be week 1? So
I mean, that's a big question mark. And then week 5, they have a matchup with Baltimore at home.
First dogfight of the season.
Yeah. So, and they're coming in. We both know, everybody knows how momentum gets on your side. I mean, you're coming in that thing 4-0.
Yep.
We'll talk about Baltimore here in a minute, but
3 years ago, what was it? It was Pittsburgh. They started the season 11-0.
Yeah.
And everybody knew that they weren't that good of a team. Everybody knew they weren't. But when you get that train rolling, I mean, it takes trains over a mile to stop.
Yeah.
And if you just happen to be within that mile, sorry, but I mean, and that's just the momentum thing. Like it just when in sports, if you've never played sports or if you have played sports, you understand the momentum in games. You can feel it as a player. You can feel it as a coach. There's just sometimes, probably as a coach yourself, you're like, these next couple possessions ain't going to be very good for us because they figured something out that clicks.
Yep.
It's going to work for a minute while we try to figure out how to make those adjustments, and then now the momentum will start to swing back our way. Or a big play will happen to just automatically flip the momentum. So Pittsburgh's a huge momentum team, and I could see them rattling off 4 wins to start the season, and then that would carry them through the season.
I mean, and then they go into their bye after Baltimore. So if you go into your bye 4-1, 5-0,
yeah.
I mean,
you're feeling pretty good.
And you've got a Mike Tomlin, like you've got to be feeling good. So that's why, that's where I could see them getting to 11 wins because all of a sudden, you rattle off 4 or 5 more and
Yeah, because then you go to the Rams, and then we'll see who they really are as a team after that Rams game when they play Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the telltale of where they're at because they could very easily be 5-1 going into that game.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't honestly, I don't know what the Rams are right now.
Yeah, I mean,
are they the team that won the Super Bowl a few years ago, or
is it I think the question with the Rams is it a Stafford-led team or is it a Stinson Bennett-led team?
Yeah, so. Which obviously we'll talk about them later, but staying in the North here, we'll go to Cleveland, who I think is going to finish at the bottom of this division. But unlike the previous division, where it'll be a team competing for the number 1 pick, I think Cleveland will be somewhere around 500. I think they'll be probably 6-7 win team.
Yeah, I'm not real high on the Browns. I just want the Browns to get that marquee 2 or 3 wins they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because usually those wins help out my beloved Chiefs. Like, they beat Cincinnati late in the season 2 years ago to give us the number 1 seed. And I'm like, yep, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted because now we hold serve. I think that's what the Browns are good for. They're kind of that spoiler team, if you will. They have really good pieces on defense. They have really good pieces on offense, but they have the biggest question mark at the most important position in football.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson.
And it's at quarterback. And I don't know what they're going to do about it because if he comes out and struggles, Cleveland fans are mean.
Yeah.
They got a taste of the playoffs.
Quarterbacks.
Yeah, they got a taste of the playoffs a couple years ago, and they wanted it back. And now you brought in massage therapist Deshaun, and they're not going to stand for it. They're paying him a lot of money, and you can't suck.
Yeah,
they're going to run him out of town.
Jacoby Brissett is no longer on the roster.
Yeah,
so I mean that was kind of your safety blanket last year. He's gone. Kareem Hunt's gone. Jadeveon Clowney's gone.
Yeah,
I mean that's not easily replaced.
Your backup quarterbacks right now are Joshua Dobbs and Kellen Mond.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to go to DT? So I guess the question is, if Deshaun struggles, do you go to two other quarterbacks that struggle, or you go to your rookie? Do you go to DTR?
I mean, I think that obviously making the decision, letting Brissett move on or getting rid of him means that you're telling Watson it's his team.
Yeah.
But again, if he struggles, you don't have a guy that it's easy to pull the trigger to put in there. Which maybe that's the situation they wanted to be in. But I mean, it could go south in a hurry.
And in that division, you can't lose 3 games to start the season.
No, I mean, in their first 4 games are Cincinnati, which that's in Cleveland, so maybe. I mean, but still, Cincinnati.
Opening day in Cleveland. That's going to be a tough atmosphere.
Then they go to Pittsburgh.
Woo. And
then they play Tennessee at home and Baltimore at home. So the good thing for them is 3 of those 4 at home. But, I mean, those – and we already talked about Tennessee. They're another middle-of-the-road team. So I think we're going to find out a lot about the Browns and the Titans that day.
I think – just looking at the Browns' schedule, like you said, the Browns, Steelers, Titans, then they go to the Ravens, and then they have the 49ers. In the first 5 weeks, they're playing 3 possible playoff teams.
Yeah.
You're going to figure out if Deshaun Watson is a fraud or if he needs to open up a massage business in 5 weeks. And in those 5 weeks, you can cost your season.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
especially in this division.
I mean, in this division, 100%, because you're looking at Baltimore and Cincinnati going to be 12, 13 win teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't lose 3 games out of your first 5 and expect to chase 13 wins.
No, you can't. You can't come back from 2 and 3.
No.
Not in this division.
And not in this conference.
Yeah.
I don't know if a 10-win team makes the playoffs like they did last year.
Yeah.
In this conference, just because it's so top heavy. We haven't gotten to the other divisions yet, but one division in particular, I think there could be 3 playoff teams out of it. So, I mean, you lose 2, 3 of your first 5, you're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, you're not talking anything crazy there, at all. I mean, it's just, and we just talked about Pittsburgh. I mean, Pittsburgh's not losing to Cleveland at home to start the season. In the first couple weeks. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And that's on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, Monday Night Football. So, Mike Tomlin.
In Pittsburgh.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh. The breeze coming off the river.
The towel's going to be out, baby.
And they're going to be 1-0.
Yeah.
More than likely. Could be a rough go for Cleveland.
To start the season, you're going to be 2-0 in the division.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be 0-2 in the division.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, I think that they'll somehow find a way to get 6 or 7 wins. But, again, real quick, we're going to know. This could be a 2-win team.
Quickly.
But
it's just so surprising to me that they took such a big swing on Deshaun with all the question marks.
Yeah.
And I thought Deshaun was a really good quarterback. But at the same time,
played in over 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, it was closer
months.
to 18 months. I mean, the league changes so fast, and you hear every player talk about it every year. Guys that come back from injuries, they're like, man, I got back on the field, and I'm way behind the times now. These young cats get on the field, and they're moving around at the speed of lightning, and I got to catch back up to them.
Yeah.
The league changes so fast, and Deshaun wasn't around to see the change, how fast those defensive ends got. And, I mean, that's a huge change for a quarterback, even though it's two different positions. But those dudes are trying to kill you.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't get to see that transition to the size and speed of those defensive ends. So, I think we're in agreement there. Like, first 5 weeks will tell us all we need to know about the Browns.
Yeah. Baltimore Ravens. We'll go there next. Man, as bad as I want to, I'm gonna pick them second in the division. Mm-hmm. As bad as I want to put them first, because you know how high I am on Lamar Jackson. They were still up there in offensive rankings last year. Their first 4 games, since we've been talking about in this division, is home against Houston, which they should win that. At Cincinnati, and then Indy at home, and then at Cleveland. So
they don't have a spread on that Cincinnati game either.
They don't have a spread on it yet?
No, but they have a spread on the Colts game, which is the week after.
Yeah.
They haven't picked that game yet.
Yeah. So, they want to see how week 1 goes. But that's the first 4. Obviously, they added Odell Beckham Jr. and Nelson Aguilar to that receiving core.
Nathaniel Dale. Oh, no, not Nathaniel Dale. Wasn't Nathaniel Dale? No. Who was the kid that the Chiefs were real high on? Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers, yeah.
They added Zay Flowers. They added Zay Flowers to that. I mean, already a speedy offense. Added in more speed. So, I'm super, like, obviously, I hound Lamar Jackson. Because in the biggest moments, you got to make the throw outside the numbers, outside the hashes. I haven't seen Lamar do it enough to that. Now, down the seam, deadly. Mm-hmm. Him and Mark Andrews have a Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce-like connection. Yeah. Down the seams. But outside those, when you start throwing that ball outside the numbers, you have to be pinpoint.
He has struggled.
Yeah, outside those numbers and outside the seams, and that's the only thing that holds me back from Lamar Jackson getting his money. Plus, they would have been the top team in that division the last 2 seasons if Lamar doesn't get hurt and miss 5 games to end the season. Mm-hmm. Like, that's a huge factor in this whole thing. Is the last 2 years, the Ravens have been leading the division by 1 or 2 games, and then come December, Lamar gets hurt. Yep. And they miss winning the division by a game and a half, or whatever.
Yeah, he's not been available when it counts.
Yeah, and that hurts. I mean, and then we watch, like, Baltimore, I think, is a good team because we watched what Tyler Huntley did last year in a playoff game. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't think he's Michael Jordan jumping from the 5-yard line for the goal line last year, the fumble in the jungle never happens. If you just run straight, pick up 2 or 3 yards, and you do it again on the next play, you score a touchdown with 6 or 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter of that game. And Cincinnati didn't do anything both games against that Ravens defense. Yeah. We might be having a whole different conversation about the Ravens. But Lamar's got to be healthy for me to have that conversation.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it kind of all hangs on him. But I still think I think they'll get 11 wins.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I think they're going to be right there in that 10-12 range. Yeah. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, because when Lamar plays, they win. Yeah. When Lamar plays, they win. And Lamar doesn't have to beat you with his arm. He'll throw 4 touchdowns but only have like 120 yards passing. Mm-hmm. But he'll have 180 yards rushing, and then they'll have a great rushing attack. Again, this year they have a 3-headed monster up there in Baltimore, plus the other weapons with the end arounds, and then you got Mark Andrews over the middle. I mean, that's a really good offense. Probably rough offensive line, but with the agility and the wiggle of those athletes back there, I don't know how much that's going to matter. Yeah,
for sure. And then, Cincinnati, I got them winning the division. We'll talk about them last. Joe Burrow, I mean, he's proven time and time again he's that dude. Yeah. He when it counts, he makes the plays.
Yes. I mean, as a Chiefs fan, nobody knows that more than us. Mm-hmm. Right? The first 3 games they've played, Joe Burrow has been mistake-free. Yep. And finally, the Chiefs' defense forced a couple of mistakes in the last AFC Championship game. But that doesn't change the point that this is now your Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Yeah. Moving forward. like every year in sports, every year since Patrick Mahomes been in the league, they've tried to pin a different quarterback against him. Mm-hmm. And it's been Josh Allen, it's been Justin Herbert, it's been Lamar Jackson, and all those guys just kind of get shoulder shrugged off. His first year was like Russell Wilson because Seattle and whatnot shrugged it off. Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes is something we're going to watch for the next 17 years.
Yeah, they're going to be duking it out. Their first 4 games at Cleveland versus Baltimore versus the Rams, and then at Tennessee. First 4 games there. So
I'm going to call it now. They're going to be 2-2 when that's all said and done.
Oh, really?
Cincinnati starts off slow.
Okay.
I think they'll be 2-2, but I think Cincinnati's going to be like a 13-14 win team.
Yeah, I got them at 12.
I think they're going to be like a 13-14 win team.
Which, like I said, I think Baltimore will be more like 10-11. So I got Cincinnati at 12. Baltimore close second there.
I feel like I'm just one game over you every time.
Yeah, maybe.
Like you have them 9-11. I had them 10-12.
Yeah.
The Ravens, you have the Bengals at 12 wins.
Yeah.
I got them at, I think they'll win 13-14.
And again, I could see them winning that 13-14 game. Just
it's a good team.
Yeah, it's a good team.
But I still think that offensive line is terrible.
And if they were in a different division, I'd probably have them with more wins.
Yes.
But I don't think, other than Cleveland, maybe, you don't sweep anybody in that division.
No.
I mean,
and you haven't swept Cleveland in 3 years.
Yeah. So,
I mean, what was it? No. Joe Burrow didn't beat Baker Mayfield one time in his career.
Oh, wow.
I think it was the other way around. I think Cleveland had swept Cincinnati like the last 2 seasons.
Wow.
I think that's right. Huh. Maybe the last game, maybe the very last game, Burrow beat. Yeah, when Baker was gone, they beat him. But Baker had like 4. Maybe he was 3-0 against Burrow, but it was 3 wins in a row. And I mean, that's the division. That division, we said it last year. They beat the absolute hell out of each other.
They do.
And they dislike each other, and their fan bases despise each other. But that's what makes for a good football atmosphere.
Yes, it does. And kind of, since we're in the division, the Manziel documentary came out. Money Manziel.
I ain't watched it yet.
You haven't watched it yet?
I ain't watched it yet.
Okay.
But I've been reading on it.
Yeah.
They said it's very good.
It is. It's one of the best things I've seen. And I think it's good that he was so honest. He didn't try to hide his faults.
He spent the last 13 years trying to hide it. And we all knew it already.
Yeah.
We all knew it already. But not
it was
extent.
very transparent. So, if you haven't watched that Manziel documentary on Netflix, Untold, definitely go check that out. So we both got Cincinnati winning the division there. And then, we'll talk playoffs in a separate episode, kind of where we'll go through the matchups there. That's what we got.
Yeah.
You got anything else in the AFC North?
No, I'm ready to play Cincinnati again.
Yeah.
As a Chiefs fan.
New Year's Day, right? Or New Year's Eve?
New Year's Eve.
Okay.
New Year's Eve. It's a 3:25 game. Be NFL game of the week that week. So, as a Chiefs fan, we love it because we've wanted this for a long time. We beat up on our division. We've needed somebody to kind of rival us. Mm-hmm. And as a former athlete and as a sports fan, there's nothing better than rivalries.
Yeah.
In sports. Yankees, Red Sox, Raiders, Chiefs, Iowa State, KU, Kansas, KU, K-State, KU, Mizzou, LSU, Florida. It doesn't get anything. Michigan State, Ohio State. It doesn't get any better than that. So I'm super stoked for it. Little AFC West, little AFC North matchup, and that could be your AFC Championship game 3 years in a row.
It could be. So that'll remain to be seen. But that's AFC North. We will be back tomorrow again. Wherever you're listening to this, make sure you subscribe and like. Please share our content. Comment back. Let us know. Hey, if you think Cleveland's going to win the division, then go ahead and comment that. with why, and we'll take a look and we'll tell you you're wrong. But hey, we'll listen to your opinion. But we appreciate everybody who listens. We've been getting some new listeners here lately, so we appreciate the new people and the people that have been with us from the beginning. We are coming up on episode 200, so stay tuned also for details on, episode 200 and where that'll take place and what we got planned for that. But I'm Gary.
This is Gritty.
And we'll be back tomorrow with another episode previewing another NFL division.